I've spoken about this before. I mean, like, you know, it's whatever this phase of your life, whether it's menopause, whether it's perimenopause, it's it's fucking hard. It's a challenge. But I don't want people to see it as a decline. I want people to see it as an evolution. And the evolution of this or the different phase of your life requires a different strategy. And I think that, you know, if you think, I don't know why my throat's like this today, but I want you to think about the
No, not
greatest
you
lesson.
too.
You are?
Not you too.
I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling fine. I think that like the greatest lessons that you've ever had or you've ever learned in your life, they've probably come from the most challenging moments, the hardest moments. And um I want to talk about sort of morning rituals and what I think is best practice. Because I think that this live is not about it's not about adding more to your already overflowing plate. It's about understanding why everything that you potentially could be doing right now in the morning might actually be working against either your hormones or either your weight loss, whatever it is. And I want to tell you a bit about why. Because the science of it is in the morning, your cortisol naturally peaks, right? That's pretty normal. It should be normal anyway. So if you add in extra stressors, even things like skipping breakfast, some people should do that, some people shouldn't do that. It could be an intense exercise bout in the morning. It could be rushing out the door in a panic because you've hit snooze three times. What you're creating is you're creating a cortisol cascade, and that will trigger blood sugar mismanagement, insulin spikes, and that will affect the estrogen balance. And if you've got very low estrogen or virtually none in there because you're postmenopausal, it's going to be like just dominoes, not knocking them all over, and they're just falling. And the result is you're very reactive for the day. Then your body sees it as a essentially a threat. So metabolic processes slow down, become sluggish, and the body has to try and contend with that stressful situation where really it's not you just hit snooze too much or you've done a bit too many uh pushing the I suppose burning the candle at both ends and you've went to bed late and you've woken up early or something like that. So what I want to give you today is I want to give you sort of a few of the pillars that I think are important specifically with having a future you and a metabolism friendly morning, so to speak. And I think that number one is volitional hardship. And that basically means this is the right kind of hardship. And it might surprise you, Bo, because I never talk about avoiding all hardship. I actually think that we need to do the opposite. And an analogy is if you think about strong people have muscles, right? As in, I mean, physically strong. Because you're not born with loads of muscle. You're not born um, stacked out like a bodybuilder. You build those things through resistance, through stress, through challenge. And the key is you go home, you eat well, you sleep, you repair, right? That basically what you're doing when you are training, when some of you go to the gym and do your home workouts, you are tearing your muscles with these little micro tears, and the body's like, what the fuck was that? That was intense. And it will go, okay, we need to come back stronger for that. So it repairs and it comes back stronger. And the growth happens in that downtime, that recovery time. So I don't think that your morning hardship, you shouldn't wake up and go, oh, I'm going to do like a blitz an hour of cardio, or I'm going to blitz an intense training session. I just think that you should consider how the morning impacts the beginning of your day. So I want to just sort of ask, does anybody feel, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable sharing, you can type it or you can just stay silent. But does anybody feel that their mornings are um, a bit chaotic? Or do you feel like your morning is just set up perfect and there's other parts of your day that are the challenge? You can be honest.
I don't think my mornings are chaotic. I have a routine, but it's a busy routine. You know what I mean? Because I've got three cats and they take priority. They're my number one. And then it's me. So I make a brew and then I'll stretch and do me exercises that I've got to do for repairing and stuff. Um, yeah, so that's my morning routine.
So what happens with the cats then? You have to just feed them the
Oh,
first, or you let them wee and stuff.
feed them, and once they've fed, while I'm making a brew and what have you, they'll be crying to go out. So I'll let them out before I start my exercises. And then I'm not disturbed. They're not scratching my yoga mat and things like that.
So then what happens after like the first thing you wake up? Do you check your phone? Do you do anything like that?
Sometimes I'll check my phone, but not very often these days because of a previous live where you were saying it raises your cortisol, etc., immediately. So, and it's already raised, so I
Well,
don't
because
need
what do
any
you what
more.
do you what do you check when you wake up? You don't check. It's either news or it's either like emails or it's for some news from loved ones, right?
Yeah,
It's like it's never normally positive stuff. You don't wake up and listen to an arousing speech or so. I always think that
no,
the morning, that's the first thing we often put a lot of negativity into our brain in the morning because we'll watch. I don't know. We'll look for me. I look at the news straight away. I'm like, "Fucking, what am I doing that for?" Just sends it can send you into a real negative spiral.
fine.
And
Yeah,
obviously, if you start your day like that, it's just like, oh God,
yeah.
and you have to overcome that. But I think that like so so basically, I see the morning as, and I think this is generally. I want us to wake up and I want us to treat ourselves like somebody who, simply loves themselves, right? Who, because I think I've talked about treating yourself. I think I put up a post or something about treating yourself like somebody who hates themselves. And some people do that in little micro bits, and I can explain that in a bit later. But this inversion, treating yourself like you love yourself, is it's you basically, if you want to be loved, you want to live a good life, enjoy the ride, you got to start living like you love yourself, right? So what does that mean? That means good systems, it means good gentle routines, it means strict kindness. It means putting your oxygen mask on first before you attempt to help anyone else. It's building a foundation. It's contributing to that foundation every day because then before long, you've built this beautiful castle, this beautiful kingdom, and the world around you reflects that sort of goodness of your heart. And maybe one day you'll be walking around looking at the sky and going, "That's just beautiful. Oh, this is it. This is happiness. This is peace. This is fulfillment. This is beauty." But from that first thought of trying to do that, it's apprehension, it's scary because it's going to require some discipline, it's going to require hardship. And that's what my first point is when I said hardship. I think that the greatest lessons that we learn come from that deepest pain. And it doesn't have to be like homelessness, it doesn't have to be like drug addiction, it doesn't have to be childhood abuse or even neglectful parents. Hardships can be stuff that we impose on ourselves. And that's why I like that term, volitional hardship. It's like I've definitely spoken to this about with Laura and Sharon, I'm sure I have, about the reason why I love the gym stuff or the home workout stuff is because you're doing hard things optionally in the day and you're making it harder really for yourself, aren't you? Because it's intense to put yourself through a 15-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute workout, whatever it is. You're intentionally creating more friction in life, but why? Right? You you're starting to in that process of putting yourself through that intense workout, the process of building muscle, which aren't always fun, let's be honest. You start to develop a mental fortitude, an increased. You're basically working the disciplines like a muscle. The more that you work it, the more that you you become disciplined, the stronger it gets, so to speak. And anybody can do that once a week. Anybody can do that. Oh, just go. I went out and did a walk and I did 15,000 steps. I'm amazing. Yeah, but can you do consistently 9,000? Can you do consistently 10,000? Because the hardest bit is that daily devotion to future you. That's the hardest bit. Anyway, going back to this analogy, you build, so you build a muscle, you're exposing yourself to that stimulus, and I've talked about how those micro tears happen. You create that metabolic stress, you fatigue, you burn out your muscles, and then you go and recover, right? That physical damage, the mental strain with that physical damage leads to a greater resilient you. And so what we're doing when we do stuff like that, and it's the same thing when you go out in the cold, it's bloody freezing. I can see like, when Laura had a camera on and she had I think she had a scarf on, if I remember correctly. It's fucking freezing. It's like when you go out and go for a walk in that cold, what you're doing is you're artificially manufacturing hardship, right? Because you don't want to go for a walk, especially when it's 2 degrees, -3 degrees. But the outcome of going for that walk makes you more capable. It improves your resilience. And this leads to discipline, right? Because some of you have got kids, some of you, I've got two fur kids. And this analogy with those applies more than ever, right? And maybe you would have to some of your kids, right? If your child was, let's say you had a daughter, she's 3 years old, she's in the phase of, in that sort of, I think they call it the troublesome twos and stuff like that. That like that troublesome phase where they test you for everything. Like if you open up a banana for them, they fucking throw a hissy fit, and they're just like, "What the?" If you cut if you cut their sandwiches into triangles instead of squares, they're like, "What the fuck is this?" They're like, "What are you doing?" They're ready for a meltdown. They Everything has to be their way with no direction. That doesn't mean that you can just let them do that, right? You love them so much that you see the potential in future them. You want to create a world, of course, that feels safe for them, but you have to create boundaries. And it's the same with the dogs. Um, they follow our leadership, which I'm very good at sometimes and very bad at sometimes. Um, and this is the same situation for yourself, right? When you build small invisible walls, boundaries, that, for example, our dogs, they can't do certain things. They can't jump up at people. They can't do that, even though they do. You start to, they know the limitations. They feel secure, and they know what they can do. It's safe for them to operate within those confines, right? Brushing your teeth every day. You do it every day. Why? Initially, when you were a child, it was a fucking difficult battle. I'm sure it was. Brushing my teeth annoys me to this day. I hate it, right? Because I have to go through a whole sequence. I brush my teeth, and then I've got these like sort of retainer thingies that protect my teeth when I'm sleeping. Like, but if I didn't, what's the alternative? An easy life? Yeah, like 5 minutes extra on the evening and 5 minutes extra in the morning. But I have rotting teeth that's going to require more time, money, energy at the dentist. So easy choices equal a hard life, I think. And that's the beauty of discipline. I think that when we make disciplined decisions, they are essentially, and this is why I talk so much about non-negotiables, they're a daily devotion to your destiny, to the future you, to the version of you that you want. So what you're doing every single day, you're jumping over these small hurdles. Sometimes they might seem really big in the day because you're tired, you're whatever it is. But what you're doing is you're helping your life become easier down the road, right? And that's what brings me to why I think the morning is important with rituals, right? And I want people to treat their morning routine like a ritual because I love the trend of sort of romanticizing your life. You are under a lot of stress. The idea of romanticizing one's life is a beautiful sort of idea, but it's not easy to do so. When you choose to live in the present and you seek out gratitude and beauty, everything just seems a little softer, a bit more positive because there's a lot of shit negative in the world. So what can your morning routine do to implement more of that? It can either get overtaken by BBC News, it can get overtaken by people who are demanding in your life. But and I'm not saying you need to be strict with this. A ritual is not like rigidity. I mean, a ritual is centered around what is important to you. What is important to you in the morning, on a workday morning or a weekend morning? Because it can be different, right? So to some of you wake up and you up at the crack of dawn. What are the rituals for you in that morning? It could be around fueling the body, it could be around seeking inspiration, it could be around feeling safe, feeling gratitude, it could be about feeling present. Maybe you're away with the fairies in the morning, maybe you're too stressed, you're too reactive. What does it look like? And I want you to have a have a pause and think about this because for you, it's going to be obviously very different individually, but for you, it might be a nutrient dense breakfast. It could be listening to NYM podcast just for a bit of inspiration. It could be giving your partner a hug and saying, I love you, grateful for you. It could be playing with the dogs, playing with the cats in Sharon's case or Carol's case. But, it could be just 5 minutes coffee outside. I know it's cold, so maybe not right now, but 5 minute coffee outside, watching the cats do their thing and just calm, just stillness, right? Whatever it is. Whenever I say discipline, I don't mean rigidity. I don't mean you have to do this, this, and this every single day at the same time. I just mean you have to essentially jump into the river and go with the flow, but you have to jump in. You have to, if the water's cold, the water's hot, doesn't matter, you got to jump and you got to go with the flow. But you get to decide how that routine looks for you. And a disciplined first step is the literal first step to a better day. And then you're more proactive to change. Whatever happens, whatever comes up, you're in a far better emotional state, physical state, mental state, etc., to things that are going to challenge you. Especially, obviously, more challenging generally in the weekday because you've got other things to contend with, sometimes work. And with rituals, what you can do is you can bend, you can pull them ever so slightly, but the core still remains. I need to feel this particular way in the morning. This is how I start my day. And if you can optimize for that, that's the thing. It doesn't need to be, I need to do every single day. I need to do 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of just dancing silly. Like it doesn't need to be that. It just needs to be, I need a period of where I'm relaxed. Or it could be for you, I don't know, maybe your morning ritual is not to check your phone for the first 30 minutes of the day, right? Whatever it is, we have to find the ritual that is specific for you. Then the hardest bit, I think, after that, finding it is consistency. It's the more consistency we have to so for example, if I use a teeth, right, the more consistently we brush our teeth, the less work we have to do on our teeth down the road. Like I don't want to have this is not a slant at my family, but my family don't have the best teeth, right? And I generally take better care of myself than my mum does and my sister and stuff. Um, and I'm approaching 39 next year. No fillings whatsoever because I have mostly probably down to my diet and my lifestyle. I don't smoke like my mum used to and my sister does, and I don't drink any alcohol. So there's obviously elements to that as well, my lifestyle, but some of it is down to brushing my teeth. I'm sure. I'm sure it's not the be all and end all, but um we have similar genetics and our teeth seem to have gone a different path. Right? So like there's something to be said about the habits that I am embodying. And absolutely hate it. I absolutely dislike. I don't like going to the dentist. Um, I don't like brushing the teeth. But I'm grateful I did it, and I was grateful I was encouraged to do that by my mum and dad. Because as an adult, you just do the things that you do because you know they're the right thing to do. So we learned the lesson of brushing our teeth. I hope all of us did. And now it most of the time doesn't feel like work. Definitely doesn't feel like effort. It just feels a normal part of my routine. Although if I'm really tired, it pisses me off So, but that's my own evening routine I need to fix. But I want you to apply that simple aspect of your life: hardship plus discipline plus rituals plus consistency equals a better life. And that's a power, I think, of starting the day right, of the good morning. Of course, you can rescue it if you have a challenging morning, but it's so much easier to act from a place of um proactiveness and sort of using foresight to go, okay, well, what's the plan? What are some of the potential obstacles? How do I want my day to start? Nobody wants their day to be start panicked, going, fuck, I'm late, I'm late. I've done this, done this and this. And I think with the morning routine, you really deserve to live a life that feels aligned, energized, enriched. You can do all of that if you unlock the morning routine specific for you. And, your routines are basically um, rituals that become devotions to your future self. This is not about you. This is essentially paying future you now, every in the morning. So imagine yourself in 5 years, imagine yourself in 10 years. You want to feel in every way like an abundant, embodied, happy person. All your wildest dreams, you hope they would have already come true. They don't, but these things just don't happen, right? If you want to be at a weight that you want to be at, the work starts now. And obviously it continues to maintain that way. You are chipping away every single day to ultimately reveal your future self. So think of who you want to embody in the future. Who's that version of you that you're wanting to be? And really, really envision this person. How are they acting? What are they looking like? How do they present themselves? What are the things that they've achieved? What does the morning routine look like of this person? Because I imagine if you're on the Zoom, the morning routine of this person is not waking up, smoking a cigarette, having a glass of wine and going, right, let's start today off then. Like it's not. I'm sure it's not. Um, but if you're envisioning a person who is healthy, at peace, successful, whatever that means to you, great, cool. What can you do today to mirror the person that you want to become? How can you tune into the frequency of future Laura, future Carol, future Sharon, future Angela? Like that's how do you do it? It's a good morning routine. It starts with building brick by brick. And I want you to think of that morning routine as a building site. And I want you to add a component, right? Structure it like this. Add a component of hardship, a workout, breath work, meditation, cold shower, stretching, whatever it is, something that is more than just sitting on the couch with it could be a stretching routine, could be a mobility routine, but something that is simulating hardship, right? What you start to do is you are building resilience and you're building mental toughness. And then the next thing I want you to do is focus on discipline because the goal of this is not the outcome. The goal is discipline itself. If you practice it despite not wanting to, you are starting to build discipline. You are, obviously be repetitive with that. And I want you to treat that routine as not a means to an end, but the actual end itself. The goal is just to get through the routine. It's not the goal is to stretch so I can have the splits. I mean, that's a nice goal as well. Something I always want to talk about doing, but I never do. And hips are like as hard as this wooden table. But like the goal of is just getting through it. And then that's fucking awesome because you've really exercised well, I see it as an act of self-love. Um because it's something for future you, right? And then we have obviously rituals. Remember, not rigidity. It's about a lot of the people, I think, if you go on social media, Instagram or whatever, they're like, oh, this TikTok crap. It's like morning routine. It's like beautiful, peaceful flow. But I'm sure, like, I don't have kids, but I'm sure those who have had kids, an early morning start for work, maybe. You don't have much by way of resources, maybe. That morning routine is going to seem just just non-existent, right? So you have to create the morning routine that you want to achieve as best you can, or the state that you want to achieve. And it's, I think that like You don't need a sauna, you don't need an ice bath, you don't need any of that. You could be just a 5 minute meditation after you sipping on your coffee. It could be just practicing some vision work for a couple of minutes. It could be embodying the future self before you get dressed. It can be practiced anywhere. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. Just give yourself some space, 5 minutes, whatever, and just flow with it. And obviously, everybody's routine is going to look different. There's some of you work in incredibly challenging days. Some of you going through incredibly tough stuff. So you know better than I do what you need in the morning. And if you're honest with yourself, most of you will say it's not another episode of Netflix. It's not before I go to work, or it's not watching BBC News, or it's not gossiping about the neighbor who's done something that you're like, can't believe I did that. Can't believe it. Um, so like I want you to structure this week into your morning routine, um, an element of hardship, a component of hardship that is basically a task that pays future you, but it's a task that's going to serve you in that day, but also it's going to be quite challenging to overcome. And if that's a 5 minute workout, 10 minute workout, stretching session, breath work, meditation, cold shower, um, whatever it is, I think this is where you start. A cold shower, I absolutely hate, by the way. I used to do ice baths and stuff, absolutely hate. I'm not saying physiologically it doesn't have its benefits. I think it might have a few transient benefits, but I think it's the act of you putting yourself under that cold shower for 30 seconds, which is invigorating. You do get a nice, whoa, I feel alive. But it's the fact that you were willing to put yourself under those horrendous conditions for 30 seconds, um, or to do those stretches when you're like, stretching is uncomfortable. You essentially what you're doing is you're you're pulling apart the muscles and you're making it more pliable. It's uncomfortable. Why do I want to do that in the morning? I just want to sit down, have a coffee, and have a chilled morning. But that is not just having sitting down and have a coffee is not in and of itself a vote for future you, a tick for future you. If you sit down having coffee and you're doing visualization stuff and it is genuine visualization stuff, or it's meditation, that's a different thing because it's the act of visualization. It's still a conscious thing that is some level of hardship because it involves resources, it involves thinking, whatever it may be. So I want you to think about one thing that you can implement of hardship this week that is going to serve you, and don't have to think of it now. Go away and think of it. But I want you to think about that and I want you to come back and say, I'm going to commit to this every single morning because this is all about starting to build resilience, starting to build discipline as we come into the colder months, especially for everybody on this call, all based in the UK. All the Australians are probably uh, trying to lap up the sun a bit more now as they're entering into the summer. So like this is going to be really important for what I think is the hardest. I think winter's the hardest in terms of weight loss, in terms of health stuff, because all the weather points to is just go home, eat comfort food because it's warm, reduce your activity down because it's nice and cozy at home, you got the heating on, you're in the blankets, and any sort of movement gets the air rushes out, the hot air rushes out, the cold comes in. And I think it's harder. I think it's harder for you ladies also because you've got shorter days, shorter daylight days, so it's harder for you to go for a walk. I think it's the cold element as well. I think it's a safety element of the ice, and you feel a bit maybe unsteady on your feet sometimes. There's all these factors that winter brings that summer we don't have to consider really. Have to consider the safety thing quite often, but less so in the summer because you've got more daylight hours, sometimes 9:30, 10. it's starting to the sun's going down in the summer, but now it's like three, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock. You're like, ah, oh, the day's gone. So like this is in preparation of preparing you for sort of the winter. And I think that if you have a think about what it is that is going to best serve you, I'll put up a little post and just ask you, what are you going to commit to? And we'll just keep tabs on it this week because that this is all self-love, right? I do not see discipline as punishment. I see discipline as the ultimate act of self-love. Go, eating eating breakfast within an hour of waking up, that's you giving yourself a nourishing breakfast. That's you loving your body. Going to bed at a consistent time, that's you loving your brain. Saying no to that extra glass of wine on the weekend, that's you loving your sleep quality. That's you thinking about you tomorrow, because obviously the impacts of the sleep will impact you the day after. All right. Easy choices create a hard life. And I think disciplined choices create freedom and an easy life. And this is the message I want us to take home this weekend. So I'll put up a post and just ask you, what are you going to commit to in terms of hardship? And just say, like, I'm going to commit to this 5 minutes every single day, stretching, whatever it is. And just let us know so we can just keep tabs on you. How did the stretching go this week, Carol? How did the meditation go this week, Laura? How did the 5 minute lower body workout go, Angela? Whatever it is. Actually, Carol, for you and Sharon, who are sick, don't do any of that. What I've just mentioned. Don't do any of the movement stuff. But like, whatever it is, we want to keep you to account. So if you let us know what it is that you're doing on the thread, then we'll be able to just check in and say, how's it going? Because ultimately, this is for you. Any sort of movement, any sort of volitional hardship, it's for you. It's for you. It's for future you. It's for you in 2 years. It's for you in 5 years. It's for you in 10 years. Right? For example, if you're like, and this doesn't have to be a weight loss. It can be just about health. It can be about mental health. It can be about just anything that's paying future you. If one of your issues is like, I want to improve my strength, right? This is a perfect time for you to incorporate something that's going to serve that, right? So like, it could be, I'm going to do a 10-minute workout, strengthening my legs because I find it a challenge just to get up and down off the floor. Great. Cool. That's serving you, right? That's serving you now. It's serving you in 2 weeks. It's serving you in 3 months, in 2 years, in 10 years. And for some of you, I know I've spoken to you, that's very important because you don't want to end up like your mum, who was maybe immobile or who is type 2 diabetic or who is like, whenever I think of my nan and granddad, I just think of them, I think of them fondly, but I think of them as very, very inactive. That's all I think about. I was at the age where I actually, and it feels quite bad to say, but I actually was bored to go around there because it would just be sitting down. I'd just be sitting down. I was like, fuck, I have to go around there. And they're like, we're going around to Nana Granda's today. Instead of going, oh, cool, Nana Granda, like they play with us. And I was like, I don't know, I would have been like 10, 11, when we frequently went around there. And they were just sat in their chair. My granddad wouldn't move from his chair. My nan would struggle to get up, and then she'd go and make us teas and bring cakes out and then sit down again. And that's it. That was the extent of it. So, like, as a 10-year-old, now I'm obviously, I wish they were still with us, but now I'm, back when I was 10, all I care about was having a bit of a giggle, a bit of fun, a bit of play. And it wasn't that. It was watching like horse racing or something like that on the TV. I was like, as a 10-year-old, I'm really invigorated by this. So like, think about who it is that you want to become. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to be strong on your feet? Why do you want to be independent? Why do you want to how is this morning routine going to impact you positively? And then you'll get your reason why you want to do it. Then you'll get the activity that you need to tie into that. So have a think about that. If you need any help, obviously just comment on the specific thread. I'll put it up in the MYM Academy now. And ultimately, like for me, I will focus on more peace in the morning. So instead of checking BBC News, which is legitimately what I do every day, it's a really bad habit. And I've got better at it, but I need to improve still. Um, yeah, for me, it's going to be that. Don't look at the news or don't check my phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. That's what it's going to be. So think about what it is for you. What do you want? How do you want your morning to start?